This is a true life story of the cursed wedding dress. They say your wedding day should be the happiest day of your life. For Ife, it was the day she was supposed to unknowingly walk into a curse, one sewn into every fabric of the dress she was to wear. The wedding dress, it kept appearing on her bed each time she returned it to the bridal shop where she had bought it from. Before getting home, the dress would be laying on her bed with a strange demonic music. The stale, humid air of their single room apartment in Oduona felt heavier than usual, clinging to Ifeoluwa's skin like a second one. Ife watched Akin as he meticulously polished his late father's leather shoes, the very ones he insisted on wearing for their wedding. His shoulders, usually so broad and confident, seemed to carry the weight of their financial anxieties. A wave of love, so potent it was almost painful, washed over her. They had so little, yet they were at peace. Their wedding was meant to be a simple affair, a testament to their love rather than a display of wealth they did not even possess. It was a promise whispered in darkness, a commitment to face the world together. But one tradition gnawed at Ife: the wedding dress. Every girl, rich or poor, dreamed of her wedding dress. It was a symbol, a magical garment that transformed a woman into a bride. Her own dreams, however, had been downsized, folded away like old linens, until Akin, ever the optimistic man, had heard of a place. Iyaika's bridal, he had said, his voice bright with a hope she could not quite share. My colleague at the factory, his sister rented a dress from there, said it was beautiful and cheap, unbelievably cheap. The name itself, Iyaika, the wicked mother, should have been a warning. But however, in Ibadan, colorful names were common, often bestowed with affection. So, to the shop they went. The shop was tucked away in the bustling Ogunpa market, a place where sunlight struggled to reach the ground. The air inside was thick with the scents of camphor and something else. Something glowingly sweet and vaguely unsettling, like flowers on a grave. An old woman emerged from the shadows of a back room, her face a road map of wrinkles. She did not smile. You've come for a dress, she stated, her voice dry, and it wasn't a question. The shop was a treasure trove of forgotten dreams. The wedding dresses were beautiful, and the prices, whispered by Yaika, were indeed unbelievable. It felt like a miracle. Then Ife saw it. It was isolated from the others, displayed on a mannequin in a dusty corner, yet it seemed to command all the light in the room. It was a masterpiece of ivory satin and intricate beadwork. It was elegant, timeless, and it fit Ife as if it had been spun from her very own dreams. Please subscribe to this channel, turn on your notification bell, like, and comment. Thank you. When she stepped out of the fitting room, the look on Akin's face, a mixture of admiration and adoration, erased all her doubts. We'll take it, Akin said, his voice thick with emotion. Handing over a wad of naira notes that represented weeks of his grueling labor, Iyaika's lips stretched into a semblance of a smile, a chilling sight that did not reach her eyes. The dress chose you, she said, her gaze lingering on Ife's stomach with an intensity that made Ife instinctively place a protective hand on her stomach. It will bring you everything you deserve, the old woman said. They paid and took the dress home. But alas, the news around town is that Iyaika inflicts her victims' homes with miscarriages and divorces after taking away their peace. Ife slept off, only to be jolted awake in the dead of the night. The room was cold, unnaturally cold. She sat up, her heart hammering against her ribs, and then she heard it. It was music, a faint, discordant melody that seemed to fill the room from nowhere. It was demonic, it was ancient, and filled with a profound sorrow that chilled her to the bone. Her eyes darted around the moonlit room, searching for the sound. And then she saw it. The protective bag was on the floor, unzipped, and the dress, her beautiful wedding dress, was laid out perfectly on the foot of their bed, its ivory satin glowing bright. A scream lodged itself in Ife's throat, a knot of pure terror. Her eyes locked on the gown. It lay there, not as an inanimate object, but as a presence. The music, that terrible unearthly music, seemed to emanate directly from the dress. Aki, Aki, wake up! She yelled, her voice a desperate whisper. She shook his shoulder violently, her nails digging into his skin. He woke up mumbling, what is it? What is wrong? The dress, Ife sobbed, pointing with a trembling finger. Look! And the music, can't you hear it? Akin got up and picked up the dress and carefully folded it and placed it back in the bag, zipping it shut with a decisive tug. But sleep was impossible for Ife. She just laid in bed until dawn, staring at the bag, propped in the corner, her body rigid with fear. The next day, a reality settled over her. This was not pre-wedding jitters. This was something wrong, something evil. We have to take the dress back, she told Akin, her voice flat and devoid of its usual warmth. Take it back? Ife? We can't. We don't have the money for another one. What are you going to wear? He argued, bewildered by her sudden change. I'll wear my mother's Iro and Boba. I don't care. That thing, it's not right. I'm not wearing it. After a long, tense argument that left them both shaking, Akin reluctantly agreed. The joy and anticipation of the past few days had evaporated, replaced by a heavy cloud of fear and confusion. They carried the dress back through the bustling market. They found the shop and Ife practically threw the bag at Yaika, who stood in the doorway as if she was expecting them. We don't want it, Ife said, her voice shaking. There's something wrong. There's something wrong with it. Yaika's lips twisted into that cold smile. The dress does not like to be rejected, she said. It has already chosen you. There are no refunds. She took the bag and disappeared into the shop's gloomy interior without another word. The journey home for Ife and Akin was silent and miserable. They had lost the dress and their money. The wedding, once a source of joy, now loomed as a source of dread. They walked into the apartment, the oppressive humidity seeming to welcome them back to their reality of struggle. Ife walked towards the bedroom. She pushed the door open and froze. There, laid out on the bed, as if waiting for a bride, was the wedding dress they had just returned to Yaika. Oh no! The bag it was supposed to be in was nowhere in sight, and from its folds, the demonic sorrowful sound began to play again, louder this time, a triumphant mocking melody that echoed the silent screams in Ife's soul. Panic, raw and primal, seized them. This time, Akin heard the music. The melody was a physical thing, a creeping vine of sound that twisted around their senses, planting seeds of madness. It was a sound of immense loss, of weeping mothers and childless cradles, and it was coming from the dress. How? Akin whispered, his voice cracking. How is that possible? We just left it in that shop. This was no longer a nightmare Ife was having alone. It was real, a shared horror unfolding in their small, vulnerable room. Logic and reason fled, leaving only a stark, paralyzing fear. Akin, the pragmatist, the man who could fix any broken engine and calm any storm, was utterly lost. He launched for the dress, his movements jerky and uncoordinated. He bundled the dress into his arms, the cold fabric seeming to suck the warmth from his body, and stormed out of the apartment. Ife followed him, her bare feet slapping against the concrete floor. He did not stop until he reached the Ogunpa River, its murky waters sluggish and brown. With a roar of fury and terror, he hauled the gown into the river current. Ife and Akin both watched as the ivory satin turned into a dirty grey. And then, slowly and heavily, it sank beneath the surface. The music stopped. They stood there for a long time, chest heaving, the sounds of the city a distant hum. They clung to each other, two drowning people holding on to a single piece of wreckage. They walked home in a daze, not speaking, the unspoken hope, a fragile prayer between them. It had to be over. It had to be. But their home offered no sanctuary. The moment they opened the door, the demonic music washed over them, a tidal wave of despair. The dress! It was on their bed, not a drop of water on it, looking immaculate and utterly triumphant. A single perfect water lily, a flower that did not grow in the polluted Ogunpa, rested on the dress. Please subscribe to this channel, turn on your notification bell, like, and comment. Thank you. That was when the unraveling began. The dress was no longer just a guest. It was a master of the house. The music became a constant torment. Sometimes, barely audible whisper that made them question their sanity. Other times, a deafening dirge that forced them to flee their own home, walking the streets for hours until it subsided. Sleep offered no escape either. Ife was plagued by nightmare of a shadowy woman, her face contorted in rage, snatching a baby from her arms. She would wake up screaming, drenched in a cold sweat. The phantom pain of empty arms lingering for hours. Their love, once their only shield, began to crack under the strain. Akin grew distant, his eyes hollowed by sleeplessness and fear. He started drinking, seeking a temporary oblivion in cheap gin. He lost his job at the factory after getting into a fight with a supervisor, claiming the man's face had momentarily twisted into Yaika's face. They argued constantly, their words laced with the poison of their shared terror. The apartment, once a heaven, became a prison. The dress, its silent, ever-present warden. Then, Ife's mother, who is a prayer warrior in her church, walked into their house. Both Aki and Ife were surprised. They ran into her arms and the battle began. As they entered the room where the dress was kept, they saw Yaika sitting on their bed and holding the wedding dress. Ife's mother swung into action with prayers, addressing her and her cohorts. Then the unimaginable happened. Iyaika disappeared with her evil dress and the music stopped. But the person who came as Ife's mother was an angel. The really first mother was in a church program on a 3 days dry fast in faraway Abeokuta. Our God indeed is our shield, our glory, and the lifter up of our heads. Akin and Ife got married in a modest ceremony wearing the Yoruba traditional attire and lived happily ever after.